Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's special presentation. My name is Jerry D'Ambrosio, Senior Instructor with VectorVest. Whether you're investing for the long term or trading for short-term gains, you need a system that works and that's easy to use. In July of 2014, I introduced a fantastic new trading system that produced an annual rate of return of 36% with 77% winning trades. It was based on a search developed by a consultant of ours by the name of Barbara Starr. The search is called Star Search. It's a breakout scan that uses two very good technical analysis indicators. Now, just because the Star Search trading system uses technical analysis indicators doesn't mean that you would be trading in and out of positions quickly. Now, I'm going to demonstrate that a little bit better in a few minutes, but first let me review the stock selection criteria for this methodology. Here we have a stock, CTSH, and let me just go over quickly what we see here on the graph. Surrounding price are what's called Bollinger Bands, and the white bands surrounding price are 3 standard deviations from the average, and the yellow bands surrounding price are 1 standard deviation from the average. And because standard deviation is a measure of volatility, Bollinger Bands adjust themselves to the market's condition. So during less volatile periods, the bands contract. They move closer to the average. The tightening of the bands is often used by technical traders as an early indication that volatility is about to increase sharply. When the market does become more volatile, the bands widen. They move further away from the average. Okay? So that's the first indicator that this stock selection method uses. We have 2 indicators at the bottom. They're both the DPO, the detrended price oscillator. The blue indicator is a 20-day DPO, and the red indicator is a 9-day DPO. I'm going to talk more about the 9-day DPO in a second, but for an entry or a buy signal for this trading system, what we want to see is we want to see the price cross above or break above the upper 1 standard deviation band. Along with that, we want to see the DPO, the 20-day DPO, turn bullish. That's a buy signal. That breakout, that cross above the 1 standard deviation band, along with the bullish crossover of the DPO, indicates that volatility may start to increase. And once we see the price of the stock rising like it did after that breakout, you could see what happens to the Bollinger Bands. They start to expand. And as they expand, they create what we call trading lanes. And ideally what you want to see after you enter this position is the price of the stock stay in that left lane. We call it the fast lane. As long as price begins to rise, those bands expand, price remains in that fast lane. Now you can see here as price starts to soften a little bit, okay, and crosses into that middle lane. When price changes and crosses from the fast lane into that middle lane, that should give you an early warning signal that the party may be over and you may want to start thinking about protecting profits, taking profits, and moving on to the next trade. Along with price crossing from the fast lane to the middle lane, once the 9-day DPO, which is the red indicator, once that turns bearish, that's your confirmation. That's your confirmation that you may again really want to move to the sidelines here and take profits off the table. And you can see what happened after that. You can see that the band started to contract once again, which just let us know that volatility was beginning to decrease once again, like we saw back here early on before we entered into the stock. All right, another example, TSS. We can see here periods of extremely low volatility. We can see that the bands are contracting. They're getting closer and closer towards each other, moving closer and closer to the average. We get that one big breakout. Price crosses above the upper yellow line, which is the 1 standard deviation. We get that. We also get the 20-day DPO turning positive. There's our entry. Price continues to rise from there. The bands begin to expand, creates that trading lane. Price remains in that left lane for a few weeks there. It does eventually change lanes, head and crosses into the middle lane. That, along with the 9-day DPO turning bearish, we can see that after that, volatility begins to decrease and the bands start to contract back towards each other. One more we'll take a look at is Apple. Very similar situation. And folks, this is what you want to see heading into the trade. You want to see periods of low volatility. You want to see these bands getting squeezed tighter and tighter together, because that breakout then will generally lead to an increase in volatility. So we get that breakout. We also get the 20-day DPO. It creates a really nice trading lane for us. Price of the stock remains in that lane for what seems like a few months now. It does cross into the middle lane. The 9-day DPO does turn bearish, and we can see once again that price really starts to break down from there. And if you hadn't gotten out of the stock yet, either when price crosses into the middle lane, or the 9-day DPO turns bearish, or maybe just a 10% trailing stop. These are just some suggestions, folks, on when to exit the position. A 10% trailing stop, I think, works just fine, and you're going to see that in a little bit. But eventually, when price crosses into what we call the slow lane, the right-hand lane, that is your last line in the sand. If you hadn't gotten out of the position yet, if price crosses below the lower 1 standard deviation band and enters into the slow lane, you really want to think about exiting the position at that point. All right, so very easy to use, and you don't have to look at chart after chart to identify this setup. We have the search already built into the software for you. Now, because this search uses technical analysis, you do need ProTrader in order to use this stock selection search. And if you noticed in the views tonight, we did put a link in the views for a free 2-week trial to ProTrader. You can test this out yourself. Okay, from here, let me move into the VectorVest program, and I'm going to start in the backtester. Now, if you remember from the July presentation, I demonstrated a trading system using the Star Search stock selection scan, using the DEW timing system, okay, as our market timing signals. The start date that I used was November 29th of 2012, and the end date was the date of that presentation, July 18th of 2014. Really nice looking equity curve here over the 1.5-year time frame that we're looking at. 77% winning trades, a 58% total gain with a 35.5% annualized rate of return. And what I loved about this, 2 things I loved about this the most, is the low drawdown, only 7%. And look at the commissions, only $388 in commissions. So we didn't trade all that often. If I go to reports, go to summary report, and in the 1.5-year time frame that we're looking at, we only made 22 trades total, 17 winners and 5 losers. So again, just because this search or this trading system uses technical analysis doesn't mean that you're going to be in and out of these stocks often. Sometimes, and you'll see this in a second, you may hold on to a stock for a few months. As long as your stop criteria doesn't take you out, you can remain in the stock however long it takes. Let me close this. So what I wanted to do, and really the purpose of tonight's presentation, is to bring you up to speed on how this is performing currently, and really since July of 2014. All right, and here is that back test. So now the start date is the same, November 29th of 2012. The end date was just a few days ago. We now have 62% winning trades. And look at the percentage gain, folks. Look at the overall gain, 138%. So remember, let me just pull this down really quick. Remember, middle of July of 2014, it was up 57%. It's gone up another 80% since. That's a 45% annualized rate of return, and the drawdown didn't go up all that much, still under 11%. Okay, so since we first introduced this trading system, this has been performing wonderfully ever since, and we've gotten a ton of feedback from our subscribers, many who've attended the Trade Like a Pro workshop, and many that I've just spoken to via email. They use this and they have tremendous success. Now, if you take a look at this year, everybody can agree that this was a very difficult year in the stock market. From the first DEW up signal, January 8th of this year, to just a few days ago, we're looking at 58% winning trades. That's a 58% gain, 62% annualized, and look at that drawdown, under 8%. And over the last few months, since the beginning of October, this thing has performed very well, up almost 14% since the beginning of October. And notice that there was a flat line here in September. Now, this trading system doesn't necessarily go into cash at a down signal. But what we do, and let me click on edit here quickly and go to custom trading system and go to the automation rules for the down situation. Anytime a DEW signal turns down, we just take no action. We don't close all of our positions, all of our bullish positions. We leave those positions open until their stop criteria is met, but we don't open any new positions. So we just let our portfolio extinguish naturally, and that's what happened here. The DEW signal turned down on June 26th. We kept our positions in our portfolio, and look at that. The portfolio actually increased in value during the DEW down, but we didn't replace any stocks that we got stopped out on. We eventually stopped out of all of them at the end of August, remained in cash until the next DEW up, and then we were off and running again. So an 8% drawdown, 62% annualized rate of return, 58% winning trades in a year where the market, the S&P, is actually down 2% year to date. And if I come up to reports, go to the summary report, this year we only made 19 trades total, 11 winners and 8 losers. Okay, and if I go to the trade history for this year, just wanted to emphasize one more time that you're not necessarily trading in and out of these every day or every other day. And we bought GPN in January of this year and we held it to August. Our 10% trailing stop wasn't met until August 25th of this year. We made a nice almost 29% gain. And we have some really nice winners here, as you can see. Okay, I scroll back over, that weren't traded quite often. So we held on to this for a few months. This was almost 8 months, another 7 months or so that we held on to some of these stocks. So just because it uses technical analysis indicators doesn't mean that you have to make multiple trades a week to use this methodology and be effective with it. Okay, so all I wanted to do today, folks, is bring you up to speed on a trading system that has performed exceptionally well over the last couple of years and really this year in particular. So if you're looking for a methodology starting in 2016, if 2016 happens to bring the same obstacles and difficulties that 2015 brought us, I think this trading system has shown that it's likely to hold up given the same type of market conditions that we've had this year. And 2 more things I want to leave you with. Now, this back test, because it does use market timing, it requires the auto timer add-on module. Again, in the views tonight, we put a link for a free 2-week trial. So you could take out a free 2-week trial to the auto timer and to the Pro Trader as well. And also in the views is a PDF document of the back test settings that I used here. Now watch how easy it is to move forward with this trading system. So you take it from a back test, you want to move it into a portfolio and either track it or trade it going forward. So I'm going to move to the portfolio manager, create a new portfolio. I'll call it Star Search. We'll keep the initial investment and commission type at $4.95 per trade. I'll click on OK. And all we have to do from here, click on Settings, and we're going to select an existing trading system. What we did, folks, is we put this trading system and everything that entails loaded into the program for you. So if you click on Select an existing trading system, you'll notice that we have the Star Search with the 10% trailing stop template here. And just like the auto tester, remember in the back tester, I said you needed the auto timer to be able to back test the search using market timing. You also need the auto timer to be able to use any of the templates here because these trading systems have built-in market timing systems within them. So all I need to do is select the trading system, click on Select. Notice it loads the rules right up at the top. So we're currently in a DEW down signal. It tells you what situation you're currently in. All I need to do is click on Save. The Genius is now on. It says the streaming automation is enabled, but notice there aren't any stocks in here because we're currently in a down situation. So next time the DEW signal turns up, the system will recognize that and fill your portfolio with 5 stocks from Star Search. So it's completely hands-off from here, folks. You don't have to do anything else. Check the portfolio each and every day to see if the DEW signal turned up. And again, once it does, it loads the positions right in here for you. It'll manage those positions based on the 10% trail and just follow all the rules that are in this trading system. And that's how easy that is. Well, this concludes tonight's special presentation. Have a great weekend, everyone.